Welcome to the Close the Chapter podcast. I am Kristen Boyce, a licensed marriage and family therapist with a private practice, Pathways to Healing Counseling. Through conversations, education, strategies, and shared stories, we will be closing the chapter on all the thoughts, feelings, people, and circumstances that don't serve you anymore and open the door to possibilities and the real you. You won't want to miss an episode, so be sure to subscribe. Welcome to this week's Close the Chapter podcast. I am so incredibly grateful you're here with me. This is the year of working on yourself, transformation, expansion, opening yourself up for more love, connection, vulnerability, deeper relationships. You came to the right place because we're deconstructing family systems. As a marriage and family therapist, I work with clients all the time on letting go of what other people think, people pleasing, trying to get somebody to maybe have a different perspective or validate you, have more empathy. And what we've learned over time is we can't change other people. And this is a hard truth. We cannot change other people. And as much as we see where they can grow, I want to refocus your energy on where you can grow, where you can become more of yourself, feel freedom to say things in a centered, healthy way with love and grace, so you don't take on other people's anxieties, ways of being, and patterns that they've developed. You can break free from those patterns. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that I've done a couple of episodes on that felt like it warranted to start off this year, really diving into it, because if you understand this concept, it's going to begin to shift the way you show up, the way you think, the way you interact with people, and you're no longer going to be bound by this worry of, are they mad at me? I'm afraid I'm going to hurt them. I'm afraid they're going to reject me, abandon me, not like me. We have to work on becoming more secure within ourselves. It is the cornerstone for healing and growth. And when I work with anybody, when they come into Pathways to Healing Counseling, our team is working on you becoming more secure, more confident, more connected to your worth and value without it coming from the outside world, meaning trying to please other people or through achievement or through your image or your identity and other things. It becomes about you feeling worthy, lovable enough, and that you matter. And you can be your authentic self, and that's acceptable. You can be vulnerable with safe people and feel like you can show up with all your parts, show up with all of yourself and your personality. So what we're talking about today is differentiation. And it's a key family system term that I'm going to break it down for you. First of all, have you ever left a family conversation knowing exactly what you meant to say or you wanted to say? So in therapy, I work with a lot with role play and let's come up with a centered message on what you want to say. So you're coming from a secure place, even though the other person isn't going to change, validate what you say, maybe even acknowledge what you say. You're saying it to stay true to your authentic self. We role play it, we rehearse it, and then you get there and somehow you didn't say what you meant to say. Often it's not a communication issue, it's a differentiation issue. It really is about, are you differentiated enough from your family system? And we're going to break down what this all means in order for you to say what you feel in a centered way. And that you know it's okay for you to have your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions, even if they're different from your family system. And this is very important if you're a parent or a grandparent, that you understand that it's healthy for someone to have their own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. It is healthy for someone to be their authentic self. We aren't taught that in our family systems. We are taught to be mini-me's, or this is how our family expects you to be, instead of being who you really are. And we're going to really work on this concept because once you get this, you're going to change legacies and change generations. Okay, so where did this concept come from? And I am trained in marriage and family therapy, so this is really my background. I love this work. And really, this is the theory I'm probably the most aligned with because it speaks to what I see in my office and what we all deal with in family systems. So differentiation of self was developed by Dr. Murray Bowen. He was a psychiatrist and a pioneer of the family systems theory, and it's Bowenian theory. So Bowen believed we are not isolated individuals. We are emotional systems. We all come from systems, whether it's a family, a culture, a religious system, a school system, a sports system. Think about all the systems, a friendship system. Think about all the systems we're a part of, a work system. Those are all ways of thinking and being, and they all have their own patterns and maybe values of what they believe. And you have to start, that's why in childhood, giving children the freedom to critically think and think differently than you, that is a necessary step for them to question everything, to be able to be differentiated. We know that anxiety moves through families like electricity. Bowen was very big into this. And let me read that again. Anxiety moves through families like electricity. So if we have unchecked trauma, let's say we haven't dealt with something from childhood, emotional abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, and we haven't dealt with it, it will travel. And I know it just says anxiety, but it will travel through the family system unconsciously. The more differentiated, meaning you can have your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions and feel secure with that, a person is, the less reactive the system becomes. Okay, differentiation describes a person's ability to stay emotionally connected while also maintaining their own thoughts, beliefs, identity, and emotions. Let me say that again. Differentiation describes a person's ability to stay emotionally connected while also maintaining their own thoughts, beliefs, identity, and emotions. So you do not chameleon yourself based on the group you're in. You do not chameleon yourself into being one person with a family and being a different person with friends and coworkers and your partner and parenting. You're consistently the same person. This is one of the biggest things I work on in therapy. So we hear the word codependency. We're talking about being a differentiated self. Like it's okay for your partner to have their own feelings and you are not responsible for managing them. That's a differentiated person. A differentiated person says, it's okay for you to feel the way you do. I don't have to own or take responsibility with that. And in both, it's okay for me to have my own feelings, thoughts, and opinions. We use that a lot in our family. I'll say, it's okay for you to feel sad or mad, and it's okay for me to feel sad and mad. We can both feel however we need to feel in this moment. That's a differentiated self. And it's really never meant to encourage distance or independence. So I really want to get this separate. I mean, yes, you become an independent self. It was meant, Bowen meant it for support of maturity, emotional maturity within connection. So emotional maturity within connection says, I'm a secure individual and you might be dysregulated right now, and I am safe and okay. If I haven't worked through my childhood trauma, where let's say a parent was highly dysregulated, maybe they were an alcoholic or addicted to some substance, or they were inconsistent, I then caretake that parent and I get stuck in this caretaking role. And that means I never differentiated myself because I felt like I had to keep a parent alive. I'm making this up, but this is an example. I had to keep the parent alive. Maybe you became a pseudo spouse where you stepped into what should have been spouse role for one of your parents and you became the emotional support person. Those two examples keep you from differentiation because you stepped into roles that weren't meant for you and you became a caretaker and didn't get the opportunity to have your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions and not feel responsible for a parent. And what happens is you take that role into your current relationships. So if you have a parent-child relationship, you did not differentiate in childhood. I know this is a big concept. It means that you just seamlessly carried that role into your adulthood and maybe pick somebody that was at the same emotional developmental level as one of your parents. They may look like they're in a different package, but you pick somebody that functions maybe at the same developmental emotional level as one of your parents. So let's keep going. Let's keep diving into what this means. What differentiation actually means is the ability to think clearly under emotional pressure, stay calm when others are reactive, hold on to values without needing agreement. So you're holding strong to your values regardless. Now, it doesn't mean I'm closed off or rigid. Please know that. It means I can handle other people have thoughts, feelings, and opinions, and I'm still okay with my own. Now, I might have listened to somebody else's thoughts, feelings, and opinions and stay open enough to go, okay, that makes sense to me. I might even evolve my thoughts, feelings, and opinions It's a balance between togetherness and connection and individuality. So I'm still holding true to who I am. I'm not morphing myself into what you feel or think. Have you ever seen what fawning will do that to us? Fawning, meaning fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Fawn is the people pleasing response. Fawn will take us into compromising ourselves. All of a sudden, I'm agreeing to things that I don't really believe in. So you're not upset with me or you don't think differently of me. That's an undifferentiated self. That means I don't feel secure enough to have my own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And it doesn't mean I have to share them, but I'm not going to go along. I could say that makes sense that you feel that way. It doesn't mean I agree with you, but I'm okay with not getting agreement back. Differentiation is not emotional cutoffs, coldness or detachment, setting ultimatums because you're trying to change somebody. Now, ultimatums might be necessary if you're in a addictive system. We're not going to get into that today, or being done with family. Bowen clearly states that cutoffs can increase anxiety if not basically warranted. Okay. So instead of developing differentiation and tolerating that and knowing I can't change my parents, I can't change my partner, I can't change, etc., my coworker, my friend, that you are working on being more secure within yourself. That's what differentiation is. Okay. Why families resist differentiation is important to understand. From a systems perspective, from Bowen's perspective, families seek emotional equilibrium. When one person grows, sometimes anxiety rises, especially if it's not something the parent agrees with. Meaning, let's say they have a belief that now the child doesn't believe, or they have a different opinion than the parent. A parent can feel very insecure and not tolerate that. The system applies pressure to restore sameness. So if you think about your childhood, our parents wanted sameness, that we all believe the same things because it didn't threaten, quote unquote, the family system. And the pressure in family systems often shows up as guilt, criticism, quote unquote, you've changed, emotional withdrawal or escalation, shaming, blaming, belittling, withdrawing connection. These are things that happen in a family system that become patterns for people unconsciously. So what we want to understand is when we differentiate, we want the system to adjust to that. Now, the system might not. A family system might not adjust to that you're becoming more differentiated. But you're calm, you're centered, you're aligned with your true self. Therefore, you can handle what comes your way. So let's look at signs if you're low in differentiation. So if you're like, well, I don't even know, am I differentiated? Signs you're low, meaning you are struggling with differentiation. And most people do. So I don't want to paint this picture like, oh, something's wrong with you. That's not true. Most people struggle with differentiation. Okay, here's some signs. You absorb other people's moods. I can notice this instantly. If one of my kids is in a mood, I can feel myself being in a mood and I have to take a deep breath. This is how you get recentered and differentiated. It's okay that they're in a mood. I don't have to solve it, make them feel better. I can just hold space if they need to talk, but I don't need to absorb their mood or try to do something about their mood. You feel responsible for peace and harmony. Like you feel like you've got to create peace and harmony in the family. That's probably a role you took on as a child. You probably took on a peacemaker role to try to make sure things were stabilized. You overfunction or you shut down and withdraw. Overfunctioning means you are offering solutions, you're problem solving, you're trying to caretake everybody. Shutting down and withdrawing is I'm out. Like you're avoidant. That's what we call avoidant attachment style. You react instead of respond. You get very intense. There's an intensity in your reaction. When I get intense, I look at, am I differentiated or am I meshing with this person because I feel like I want my kid to be happy. I want them to be joyful. I want them to be grateful. Then I've overfunctioned and I am no longer centered. So I'm not differentiated. You lose clarity under pressure. You start thinking like they're thinking instead of thinking like you're thinking. So if I have someone come in my office and they start telling me everything about what the other person thinks, instead of they might tell me a little bit about the other person, but then this is how I feel about it. Differentiation, you are clear on what you feel, your own patterns, and how you react to other people's patterns. Then you take a deep breath. You process it. So you might journal your feelings. You might have to do some deeper work on some childhood traumas in order to work to be more differentiation. If you have these 5 signs, which are you absorb other people's moods, you feel responsible for harmony and peace, you overfunction or shut down or withdraw, you react instead of respond, and you lose clarity under pressure. Bowen called this emotional fusion. Emotional fusion, Fusion. You're fused with someone else's emotions. Think about that. You're tethered, you're tied to this other person's emotions. You're walking on eggshells. And this is super important when you are thinking about differentiation, because you have to start becoming aware and curious on, oh my gosh, my whole body responds when that person is upset. Take a deep breath. You have to nurture that body part. And then you have to kind of go, what is this tied to? Is this tied to a reaction from the past? Chances are it is. From someone else. It could be a parent that got really dysregulated or shut down and withdraw, wouldn't talk to you for days, or just disconnected. So it's really important that we notice emotional fusion, because you'll take that into your relationships. What does differentiation look like in practical terms? Okay. A differentiated person can say, I care about you, and I'm still going to choose this route. I thank you for your opinion, and I'm still going to continue on this path. I can hear your disappointment without trying to fix it. And that's okay. You can feel disappointed. This is uncomfortable, and I'm going to stay present in my body. This might be something you say to yourself. This is uncomfortable. I want to stay present in my body. So I might take my deep breaths, feel my feet on the floor. I'm going to be the parent that I didn't get in that moment to nurture myself through it. You might pray. You might ask if that's something you feel like would be supportive to you. So you start figuring out in those moments how this will sound and what this will look like. It just basically means you can have your opinion, I can have mine, and we're still okay. We can still stay connected. If you feel like you're trying to change the other person, you got to take a deep breath, because you're started to get emotional fusion. You started to not differentiate yourself. Okay, let's talk about differentiation versus boundaries. Bowen emphasized that boundaries are behavioral, so they're action steps. They're like, what do you need for yourself? Differentiation is internal. It's inside you. It's a feeling of feeling all is well and I can handle this, even when someone might be upset about something. You don't jump in and take it on and feel responsible for it. I think one of the key things is responsibility, that you don't feel responsible for the other person's feelings. It doesn't mean I don't care and I don't have empathy. It means I'm not taking that on and trying to fix it. You can set boundaries without differentiation and still feel anxious, guilty, or reactive. Differentiation is the capacity to remain steady while holding the boundary. So I can stay calm and centered while holding the boundary. And boundaries are what's okay and what's not okay. It doesn't mean the person's going to comply with that or go along with that. Most often, a lot of people struggle with boundaries, another person, because they're not used to it from you. They're used to you fawning and people pleasing. And that's a younger part. I'm going to tell you something that's such a truth. Fawning and people pleasing is young. It's young, and it often sets up parent-child dynamics and kind of a one up, one down. You give your power to the other person. So I no longer feel differentiated. So you have the power over me. And it's a very young part. People pleasing and fawning. It's a survival mechanism when you're younger. If you're doing that in adult relationships, we have to work on the child part that says, if you don't like me, I'm not okay. A differentiated person says, if you don't like me, I'm still okay and lovable and enough. Regardless of what you think, I'm still okay, because oftentimes that person isn't differentiated. That other person is stuck in some younger parts. You can only work on healing your younger parts that need reparented. Okay, how do we strengthen differentiation? How do we continue to work on this? Bowen believed differentiation is built over time through awareness of reactivity. When do you get intense? That's why I love deconstructing your triggers that live within you. If you get intense over something, there is something inside you that's begging to be healed. So if one of my kids gets reactive to me, let's say they have an attitude and I get triggered by it, I have to take a deep breath and then I have to get curious about it. I journal about it. If you see my journal, boom, I write in my journal often, every day, almost every day, because I'm processing what is the emotional reaction and body sensation going on within me. Bowen also believed differentiation is built over time with tolerating discomfort. Your window of tolerance for other people's disappointment, other people's emotions, gets much, much greater. And it doesn't envelop you like a wave and take you over. It's staying connected without over functioning, without feeling responsible and guilty and trying to be all things to all people. It's allowing yourself to still be authentic and vulnerable while staying centered in who you are. So if they believe something and you don't believe it, that's okay. It's not a threat to you. I mean, it depends on the situation, but in general, you are still okay, no matter what they believe. Okay, so here's some practical steps. We're going to pause before we respond by taking a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth. You might need to take several. Feel your feet on the floor. Name your emotional state internally. So I am feeling scared because this person, so I'm feeling scared because this person is getting upset with me. And you're going to say something like, "You're okay, honey. You can handle this. You are safe." Speak calmly and clearly. Like, listen to my tone of voice. I calm my tone of voice down. I modulated it more. And then allow others to manage their own feelings. Let them manage their own feelings. You cannot manage someone else's feelings. You can only tend to your own. You can hold space and offer empathy and compassion if that's necessary. And it's important that you know that you are allowed to have your own feelings. If it's different from someone else, you're allowed to have your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And that is healthy. You're not going to agree in a relationship with everything. It's just not going to be the case, and nor would that be healthy. You have to rumble through, why do I believe that? What is underneath that for me? Be clear. The more you understand when differentiation doesn't show up in your life and you become emotionally fused, or codependent's another word for it, the more you're going to be able to stay centered. Okay, so let's do some reflection questions. Where do I feel emotionally fused with my family? And maybe it's over political, religious beliefs. Maybe it's over feel like you're emotionally caretaking them and you take on their emotions and feel responsible. Maybe you feel guilty for something. What anxiety do I manage for others? What anxiety do I try to manage for others? Where are you trying to create peace and harmony where it's not your job or responsibility? What would it look like to stay connected and grounded in yourself while someone else is reactive? Or we're not talking about domestic violence or anything like that. We're talking about where someone is dysregulated, but you feel responsible to regulate them. How often does emotional fusion or lack of differentiation come up for you? Like, let's say you're with your family, and let's go back to the opening question, and you have something you want to tell them, and then you end up not because you're afraid they're going to get upset. And sometimes you want to discern, maybe that isn't the time to bring it up. That's understandable. What we're working on is the more you feel secure within yourself, that it's okay for you to feel the way you do, have the opinions you do, even if people don't agree with them, and show up with your true self. That's the doorway into differentiation. And you're going to bring that into a romantic relationship. And when people come to the office, they want to talk a lot about the other person. And yes, you can share your feelings and opinions, but really matters is, how are you feeling about the dynamic with you? What patterns have you taken into this relationship unconsciously that you brought in from your family system, and vice versa? I look a lot at that. And until you can take ownership, differentiation is radical ownership. If you're radically owning your emotions and your feelings and your reactivity, you're becoming more differentiated. If you're blaming, shaming, guilt tripping, you're not differentiated. You're just not. So these are key patterns that I really, really emphasize that you notice and work on. And it's not about fixing your family. It's about becoming steady enough that the system no longer controls you. And so I think it's important to mention taking care of your nervous system, because the more nervous system work you do, and I've done several episodes, I just replayed one from Deb Dana, the more differentiated you're going to be able to become, because you can handle the emotions you have and the body sensations you have, and you can breathe through those emotions that come up. And really what differentiation is you can work through guilt and shame. Differentiation, if you are stuck in shame and guilt, it's hard to differentiate yourself from a family system. If you're stuck in, I'm a terrible person, I'm a bad person, I am responsible for this dysfunction, which isn't true, I mean, in your family of origin, then it's hard to differentiate. Although guilt can, if you can tolerate guilt and you can work through guilt, you're going to be able to become more differentiated. Guilt can propel us to say, is this really my issue? Is this really my issue? Did I really do something bad? So, my encouragement to you is really understanding when you feel stuck in the younger part of you, that is not differentiated. So, a younger part is usually emotional fused with a parent because we want them to love us. We want them to see us, hold us, affirm us, pay attention to us, encourage us, allow us to question things, allow us to question them. And that was safe. Most of us didn't get that. So we're practicing that within ourselves. Once we start working on that and with ourselves, we start bringing that to other relationships in our lives. And that's what I work on with clients, speaking our truth with love and grace, really becoming clear on your own patterns and how you got there, and then being able to share your self in the most holistic, authentic way by befriending all of your parts of yourself. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. You'll never be perfect because it doesn't exist. We all have human parts to ourselves. We all don't feel good enough at times. I will really encourage you, if you don't feel good enough, I want you to dotted line to differentiation. Do you feel like if I felt good enough, this person would love me or like me or be pleased with me or want me or not leave me? Those are young parts that are stuck in emotional fusion because your partner's not going to make you feel more secure. Doing this deeper work will. I promise you, it's the best work you'll ever do. And that's why I like brain spotting, somatic experiencing, EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. Those are all modalities to work through the past so you can be fully present in this moment and live as a differentiated self, meaning I'm not emotionally fused with you. I can be an empathic witness, what is going on with you, what you're feeling, but I'm not taking it on and trying to make you feel better or fix it or rescue you. I am just simply holding a space and allowing you to have your feelings. We have a hard time allowing people to have feelings, including our own. So I hope this is helpful. And I encourage you to write about anything that came up in this episode. If you're in therapy, take it to your therapist, truly, because codependency is birthed out of emotional fusion and it's young. You're stuck in a younger, emotionally stunted part, meaning you didn't get your needs met. And so you're thinking your partner's going to meet it, your friend's going to meet it, even your therapist is going to meet it. But really, what the therapist does is it helps you work through those past hurts, pains, fears, abandonments, shame, so you can be free in this very moment to be who you are. And that is my hope for you, that you can know you're enough and you matter and you're important and you're lovable. And it's okay to have your own thoughts, feelings, and opinions. And it's okay to question things. It's healthy. And when we can have critical thought, meaning we can think freely, it changes so much. It changes the world, really, because we can then not feel threatened by someone else. We can have love, more compassion, more empathy. And so take a moment to really dive into this topic on differentiation from your family system so you can bring a secure, healthy sense of self to all of your relationships. I love you. I'm grateful for you. Truly, I mean that. Like when you do this work, your love expands tenfold because you're not tethered and tortured in your own mind by your family system that lives unconsciously in your head. You're able to grow and evolve and live in the and in both world and not the black and white, right or wrong, good or bad. It's all of it. It's and in both. And when you live in the and in both, that's a differentiated self. That is a differentiated self. And that's where the freedom lies. And I just want to say, this is amazing. You're doing this work. You're amazing. You are changing lives, generations by doing this work. And everyone around you will feel the shift of you letting go of control and fixing it mode and just allowing and holding space. And you hold boundaries that are healthy for you to stay in differentiated mode. So that means I can love bigger if I have boundaries. So this is the Cliff Notes version of differentiation. If you want more on the topic, let me know. We'll go further into it. We'll dive deeper. And I'm here cheering you on every step of the way. Thanks for being here. Share this episode if you want to talk about it with a friend, a partner, a family member, and you guys can talk about in their family system, they weren't allowed to differentiate. They had to go along with obedience and discipline, and all of that was at the forefront, and they weren't allowed to differentiate. So they didn't really think for themselves because if they did, it was a threat to the system. in love and connection. So maybe they learn, oh, I better not do that or I won't be loved. So these are great conversations to have. And I encourage you to have them with yourself, with your family members. Please talk about things because that's what starts to shift the dynamic. I hope this was helpful. Have a fantastic week. Listen to this more than once if you need to, and I believe in you. Thank you so much for listening to the Close the Chapter podcast. My hope is that you took home some actionable steps along with motivation, inspiration, and hope for making sustainable change in your life. If you enjoyed this episode, click the subscribe button to be sure to get the updated episodes every week and share with a friend or a family member. For more information about how to get connected, visit Kristen, Kristen, Boyce, Boice.com. Thanks and have a great day.